so fast and so haughty.
You feel, however, that we're making progress.
No. I will never say that progress is being made. Knife in my back 9 inches and pull it out 6 inches. There's no progress. You pull it all the way out. That's not progress. The progress is healing the wound that the blow made, and they haven't even begun to pull a knife out, much less try and heal the wound. They won't even admit the knife is there. You haven't.
What up, though, people? It's your man, Prof. We back again with another episode of Let's Talk About It. This is an unscheduled podcast, but I definitely want to touch on it. I got my guest with me today, brother Byron K. Odin Shabazz. How you doing?
Doing well, sir. Doing well.
So, sorry to put you on the spot in the last minute, guess, but I had to call and get your take on what's going on in D.C. as far as yesterday. We don't know what's going on today, but as far as the action of those storming the Capitol.
Well, it's ironic. We've seen repeatedly and heard it, as Brother Malcolm would say, like the chickens have come home to roost. Anytime you found something, right? So if I'm baking a cake and it's somewhere in that cake, I put dirt in it, but I put all the other ingredients and I slip a little toxic something in it, right? And we display this cake and we tell everybody how beautiful this cake is, how good this is, and we serve it and they start getting sick. And they start getting sick and they start saying, wait a minute, man, something is in this cake, right? And then somebody falls over and die, right? But we tricked them, right? Because we gave them this cake. They've been looking at this cake and, oh, it's so beautiful. And everybody's walking past like, oh, look at them with that beautiful cake. And then the people will start dying or they're really sick, right? That's America. America started, man, off a poisoned cake. You can't come into somebody's house, right? So these people are honorable enough because the concepts are so different. So these Europeans come over here, right? And they come in with this manifest destiny and all these other crazy academic terms they give for murder, rape, pillage for me, right? And so what we saw yesterday was a reflection of all of that, right? Because hey, that wasn't a black problem yesterday. You see what I mean? That wasn't a black problem. That was white folks on white folks who, they got two different ideologies, right? And one of them said, there's nowhere in the world we getting ready to stand back after we stole this thing and built it and shaped it the way we wanted it, right? And then now you're talking about a Jewish white man and a black man whose mother just picked cotton a few years ago, now are the turning forces that's getting ready to take our power and voices away, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what that was about. No matter what these people try to say, that loss of power. Remember the browning of America, right? Remember, black women are the highest educated single group in the country. So a white man is losing his voice. And let me tell you the difference with black people and white people. Black people get upset and we march and pray. White people get upset, they make legislation and will pull a weapon out. And you saw that yesterday. So that toxic cake was being served, right?
Exactly. And it's historically, it's already been like that. If you think about it, you take it way back to the Trail of Tears, you know what I'm saying? The poisonous blankets that they was given to the Native Americans. So, watching it, you just see like the representation of white privilege was so strong yesterday. All that they did, no one was shot. If that was a BLM march that went to storm the Capitol, it'd have been a massacre yesterday.
Wait a minute. We don't even have to go as far as Black Lives Matter. If you've ever gone to like Selma and Birmingham and any of those cities, man, you go in Birmingham, when you go in the park where Dr. King is standing in the middle and he puts all these children around him because men have always had a code that you don't beat women and you don't attack children. Bull Connor and his boys said, oh, really? Sick 'em. You understand? And so people blame Dr. King because at the time he wasn't expecting them to come at him, right? But that there again, that is how America started. So yesterday for me, my stomach was turning, but I was sitting there saying, this day of reckoning for you was coming soon, right? it was coming, because see, that wasn't a us problem. That was a them problem, right?
Yeah,
we
100%.
got to deal with the outcomes of that. But see, they've never had sympathy for who we are. See, what we have to think about this, man. I was born in 1965. Slavery was over 1863, really 1865, really. Do you realize it was more than 100 years later before we had any real rights? Right?
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Think about 100 years from slavery to the year I was born. That was just 100 years. 1865, 1965. You know what that is? My mother, her mother, and her mother. Her mother was slaves. So we're not talking about a long time ago, right? Right? So when you start talking about, you know, where we are right now, America still has a bunch of unresolved issues. And America's problem is, until they really deal with issues of what we want to call diversity and the truth of the matter, like they flipped out about the 1619 project, well, really, you know, they was tripping on 1619. Go read your history for real. 2 documented ships, proven fact. 1555 is when they first started bringing them over here. But see, just like everything else, the Bible and everything else, they start telling that story when they were in control, right? So again, back to yesterday, you know, yesterday was a reckoning of different white ideologies that clashed, right?
Yeah, definitely, because and I just didn't, it was just, to me, just the response time to be in DC at the Capitol building for all that to go on, not to happen, no resistance. You know what I mean? That just boggles me. Like, I understand that it would happen because of who it was and what it was, but just the reality of it being 2021 and that can just happen live on TV. We actually watched it.
You know, when not to personalize it, I'll say this: when 2 people get together and decide they want to have a child, right?
Yeah.
They get together and they do what's natural and they have this child. And then 9 months later, they give birth and the world sees it. The world didn't see how they created that baby for real. The world got to see when it came to fruition. That was yesterday, right? These people have been planting these seeds and preparing. And see, Dr. Maya Angelou was very clear. She said, when somebody showed you who they are, believe them the first time, right? And even though he's nothing new, because if you look at Trump, here's what I tell people to take a look at. Go look up Andrew Johnson, right? And read anything on Adolf Hitler, right? Because he was really trying to imitate Hitler, but he's more like Andrew Johnson, right? Because when you look at Andrew Johnson and we look at after Lincoln was assassinated and we started Reconstruction, what did Andrew Johnson come to do? And so just like Lincoln and Obama, you know, and you know, it's up to a person to make the parallels how they please, but I'm just giving you examples. So when we talk about President Lincoln, you know, he reluctantly, Frederick Douglass pushes him, you know, now he's deciding, because the reality with Lincoln was, you know, they keep talking about this great emancipator and, oh, he freed the slaves. Well, who the hell telling that story? Because that's definitely not the truth, right? They're losing the Civil War, okay? So they've been asking to let the black soldiers fight the whole time. The black soldiers are willing to fight. They're like, nope. No, we ain't trusting them niggas with guns. We're not letting them out like that. We don't want to give them privileges. Well, what ends up happening? They start losing. Now Lincoln don't have a choice. He's got to allow these people to fight, right? They end up, the black soldiers come in, change the tide of the Civil War, right? So now you're supposed to be free, which didn't happen when Lincoln said they were free. Lincoln said you're free, but remember, we talk about states' rights, and they weren't a full country yet. Right. So what ends up happening is, you know, a little while later, you know, Civil War is over and now they're pushing this stuff through. And now the black people, quote unquote, are emancipated. And, you know, now we got to fix this. So they come up with some level of conscience for 5 years. You know, we got Reconstruction. Right. So now, remember, 90% of this, I mean, the vast majority, I think like 80% of the people in the South were black. So this is why we got the first senators and Hiram rebels and all these people coming out of Reconstruction, right? All these black senators and state reps and all this stuff, right? Because we're the dominant number, which is why they understood the power of the vote. And that's what we saw yesterday, right? So what happens is these people remember this, during our enslavement, we were the craftsmen, the bakers, the guy that fixed the lawn, the guy that fixed fixed the tools, did the horseshoes, cooked the food, we built the White House, we built all of this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So now you're telling these people they're free. Who rises? The Klan. And all these white organizations are like, wait a minute, man, these dudes are the ones with the skilled trades, basically. So we got to stop that, right? So then we get, so we go to Reconstruction, and now we have these rights to vote. Women still can't vote. So now we have the ability to vote, and we got a voice, and then we go into government. And them folks got together, and I mean literally got together and said, we about to end all of this. And I'm going to use the term, these niggas are not about to control us, right? Right? So they basically, here comes Anthony Johnson, and he totally dismantles Reconstruction, right? So now these black people that got the ones that did get all the way from like South Carolina, Georgia, all the way down to Florida, the land that white people couldn't grow nothing on, these black people were able to literally grow on. And for that year that they were able to grow, they waited till they got the crops out, came in, told these white men that had just had their ancestors enslaved and said, y'all can have the land back, right? So now we get segregation and all this other crap, took it from them. So bringing it up today. So Obama comes in, they already pissed because the idea of some black dude being over me was just too much to bear, right? So he comes in, he starts sorting this stuff out, and making laws and talking about health care and all this other stuff he did without going into detail. I mean, we got the gist of what he attempted to do. What has been this dude that was pretending, the next guy, 45, that was pretending to be the president dude? He tried to undo every single step that President Obama put into place, just like Anthony Johnson, undoing Reconstruction, right? Giving the slave owners back their properties. And that was what Trump was about, right? But the whole time, you need an army basically to do this. Trump was setting these seeds because he made the lowest white person you see in Walmart that you're trying to get the hell away from, right?
Mm-hmm. It made him feel empowered.
That's right. And what did LBJ say? If you can make the lowest white man feel better than the highest black man, you can pick his pocket and he won't even know because he'll be so busy chasing the niggas. He'll pay you no attention, right? So that's the whole Democratic switching parties business. But ultimately, that was what we really saw yesterday, man. It's just a reckoning. America is just coming to this place, and then they see athletes marrying these white girls. They see, these guys like Cornel West and Skip Gates. So you're talking about these black intellectuals and they marrying these white women. See, at the end of the day, you look up Bacon's Rebellion and you see these things like when poor blacks and poor whites got together to fight the aristocracy. That was when white people said, we can't ever let that happen again. So yesterday, again, you saw the reckoning of the white man who feel like he's lost his voice to these black men, to these better educated black women, to these people that are making progress. Why the hell did they start the Klan? That was exactly it, right? So that was what we got a little taste of yesterday. It ain't over. Trust me, it ain't over.
Yeah, I definitely don't think so. I think that was just a start. There's going to be more to it, but it's just the point that the blatant hypocrisy that you're seeing. Like, we can peacefully march, and there's going to be somebody going to get hurt. A bunch of people going to get arrested. They literally bust into the Capitol building, was taking pictures in I think Pelosi's desk. I think they was took over. They was still at podium. Just a bunch of just craziness. You know what I mean? But just to see that play out with no resistance in 2021 is just incredible to me. Like, it just let you know that we have came far, but we really haven't went anywhere.
Because it's this mind state, man. White America is still reckoning with the fact that You know, it was why they were so upset about the 1619 project, because now you can emphatically, I can sit in the room with white people. I don't care how many degrees they have or what they do. And my answer always is, you're not who you said you are. You did not do what you said you did. And I did not fail the way you have historically tried to make me look, right? Because you sat in the classroom and you lied to me the whole time I was in school about how great you were. And then you started history with you and then started me with slavery. You understand? So, but here's what Dr. Neely Fuller said. Until you understand white supremacy and how it operates and how it functions, everything else you do is only going to mix you up. And what we were dealing with yesterday, we saw the notion of white supremacy, right? Those people really felt like their tax dollars and their whiteness gave them the right and the privilege to do that and to go unscathed, right? You dare not do that. Trust me, because if that had been us, you'd have seen helicopters and tanks and because remember that governmental state house is supposed to be the pinnacle of America. Our greatest thinkers, this is where we send our thinkers that control and build our country. Man, the white boys walked over that like one of them walked across your grass. Didn't mean a damn thing to them. Yeah,
exactly. With no resistance, and like I said, they was incited. You know what I'm saying? Trump definitely put the call in, which he was guilty of inciting the riot. That's exactly what he did.
Yeah, what did he say? And I'm gonna walk down there with you. You should go up there because here's the other part to that, man. There's a sister, man, that is the Attorney General of New York. She told that dude about in November. Yeah, November. She said, "Hey, you got 2 months. See, you might beat these federal charges, what the federal government's gonna do, but you can't beat these state charges. You gonna pay us, bruh." See, remember this dude just made somewhere between 1.9 and 2.3 billion dollars in office. In office, he was supposed to separate himself from all those businesses, right? So here's what he did. So he lied. Forbes admitted Trump was never as rich as he said. When they was putting him on that list, he still had his daddy's money, and he had blown most of that. Because remember, this man filed bankruptcy 6 times. Who the hell filed bankruptcy 6 times and you still a billionaire? So you might be a billionaire based on assets and paper in your portfolio, but what kind of debt do you have against that money? So what else have we found out? He owes this guy 600 million. He owes them 400 million. He owes these people 300 million. So this dude has more than $1 billion in debt that's waiting on him. But again, he made somewhere between 1.9 and 2.3 billion dollars in office. You know how? So here's the guy that owns golf courses in all these places, right? And he's going there every single weekend. He's got 20, 30 bodyguards, you know, all these I forgot the name, but all those Secret Service guys, right? They were telling the public that they were charging them guys $60 a night to stay in their hotels. $600 each a night. That was the room. That's not food. That's nothing else, right? And his businesses went up, like the one he played golf in a lot, the ones he played golf in a lot, because now there was some relationship to the president going there. So of course people are going there, right? Mm-hmm. So here's a guy that's always been a dirty con man, slick, hanging out with thugs and gangsters, and that white supremacy put him in office. Because let me tell you something, as righteous as the Minister Farrakhan is, they would have never let him have a conversation to being the president. Ain't never took nothing from nobody, never killed anybody, nothing. But you will let a low-life white boy criminal become the president. Chickens have come home to roost, and now they're paying for it because that criminal is acting out being a criminal.
Yeah. Definitely, man. And I ain't gonna lie, when he was first elected, when I woke up, I fell asleep on election day, and I woke up and he won. I just couldn't believe it. I just think personally, the world wasn't ready for a woman president, and they just went with him. Now they knew he was gonna be reckless, but I didn't think they think he was gonna do what he did and went as far as he went. And they just had to deal with it because he was the president.
And
now that he's on his way out, you see people trying to jump ship at the end.
But that's their history. That's their history. But let me tell you the hypocrisy of that. 80% of public education is white women, right? 80%. Mm-hmm. So here's a woman that these women have educated themselves. Literally, there has never been a person more qualified to run for office than Hillary Clinton, ever, right? But there's this whole conversation about we're not ready for a woman. So tell me why? Because you had 12 presidents that owned enslaved Africans. So how are you not ready for a woman? You've got presidents. One Woodrow Wilson that played Birth of a Nation in the White House. This dude was so racist, man. I mean, he was just flat out with it. That's what he promoted. Now he played. Think about that, man. He premiered Birth of a Nation in the White House. You understand? But you're not ready for a woman. And then she can't be trusted. So where is this? So when do we have a politician that didn't have a background, right? But at least she was smart. She was diplomatic. We know relations with other countries would have gotten better. We know some things we could have pushed for would have gone through. And then I heard these old cottonmouth bootlicking Negroes. Well, he a businessman and he gonna make sure you won't benefit though, because he don't have a conscience for you. Everything about this dude is transactional, and he showed it over and over. If you do not benefit him or he can't get something from you, he ain't got no business with you, and turn on you as soon as he's done using you.
Yeah.
So they were surprised and didn't want a woman. Hypocrisy, man.
I mean, they about to pay for it now. I mean, I see that the Iran is trying to go through and restate the warrant they tried to put out on him. They started trying to do one in June and it was knocked down, but now they're going to Interpol and trying to do it again now that he's on his way out of office. We're going to see what's going to happen with that. But yesterday is just showing that the power of what his following is and the ignorance of him and his following. Because and it's just still the thought of you can go to the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., pretty much seize the place and with no resistance. I still can't get past the fact to sit there and watch this live on TV and these people that support Trump and they just can't accept the loss. But it goes back to history, like all the Confederate flags, the Confederate statues. We're the only country in the world that celebrate the people that lost the war. They lost the Civil War. You don't celebrate the loser. Well,
think about this. So I can't remember exactly. Like it was 1930. It was those statues didn't go up till well after the Civil War was over, right? Mm-hmm. But the daughters of the Confederacy, they're the ones that put the statues up, right? They're the ones that put up the money, but at the same time, they were controlling what was happening in the school districts and was controlling what was going in the books, right? So this is why we learn these lies. Read up on the daughters of the Confederacy. See, so what happens in America is this: you go to public school, they tell you what they want you to know, and it's almost like this. Once you take statistics, you understand. There's these people who are all going to be in between this line, and you'll have the outliers. You're going to have the knucklehead criminal type that this dude go to jail, or him or her going to jail. They ain't going to college. Then you got the ones that sure these people are going to college. But see, it's all these people in here. We basically got to teach them so they stay in between these lines and follow what we say. So how do we do that? See, we have to realize when we go to school, we've been indoctrinated. We've been educated. Malcolm said, only a fool allows his enemy to educate his children. Do you think Jewish people were sending their children to a Nazi school?
No, not at all.
You understand? So here we are seeking an education and was doing better under segregation. So we start seeking and going to school with them and learning lies, right? Getting A's at getting these lies. Then you get to college and like, wait a minute, man, the people lied to me. But they built the whole system like that because remember when the American system was built, they went to Germany and what they looked at is the military. They didn't look at educational institutions. That's why we sit in rows in our public schools because they were imitating a military. They weren't imitating an academic institution, right? So still, until we get to a place where I'm working on what's called a Saturday Freedom School. It's what they used way back in the 60s and, you know, civil rights movement, the Black Power movement, because it's a way on a Saturday to get your kids to make sure, you know, they learning that math and that science and that real history. Because it's like the more you know about yourself, the harder you work at school, because it has a point and a purpose. Because if not, I think that's why so many Black males struggle with school early on, right? Because they don't see themselves, right? And then they get in the process and they get frustrated, and then it just becomes, I'm doing good because my mother or father said I need to do good. But just imagine if we sent our school to somewhere where there were male teachers, number one, and number two, a lot of it was predicated on the same amount of history that white kids get every day, instead of them 2 or 3 lines we get. It would change the game, man. It would change.
Knowing knowledge of self and just being educated into what in just in anything of our history, because it's so much vaster than what they show. We get the 1 month a year Black History Month, and then it's the same 3 or 4 people that they talk about. You know, Rosa Parks,
Martin Luther King,
Malcolm X. You may get Harriet Tubman. And that's pretty much the gist. You know what I mean? You may get some sprinkles here and there. And none of it is taught about, like I said, when you don't see a representation of yourself, like I was saying last time we spoke, when Obama, I never thought in my lifetime I would see a Black president. But now, since you've seen one, the kids growing up could think they can achieve that goal because they got a representation of it. You know what I'm saying? So we need representation in other things. Like, and these kids not dumb. I remember years back, my daughter was talking about Columbus, and she was like, how you discover something that was already there? And she was like 8 or 9. So, you know, we perpetuated and taught something, and we learned it. And when you get older and your mind is blown, I think we need institutions that teach us that, also teach us about credit, teach us about filing taxes, teach us about APRs. We need to know about life stuff, because we don't know anything about wealth, credit, you know what I'm saying, and building these things, because we're not taught that. We're taught the same thing, even with the world changing, with the tech changing. We still get the same curriculum. It just may be online. But we still getting taught the same regurgitated stuff that's half truths that we've been getting for the last 100 years.
It's why you have to design your own academic institution. See, it feeds well to white kids. It works for them, right? And that's not being racist. That's just the reality of public education. It was designed for them because it was never designed for you to be there. Okay, first they come up with this, you don't own property, so you can't go to school. Well, you don't pay taxes, so you don't go to school. So then they write a law and they let us go to school. And then they say, okay, separate but equal. Right? And under separate but equal, even with less, we still did better, because you have to realize 80% of Black people, PhD, MD, law degree, pass through a HBCU somehow. So when people talk about HBCUs, you know, yeah, you can do good amongst Black people, but you ain't ready for white people. Hey man, let me tell you something. Where do you think white companies go when they want skilled people? They go right to them HBCUs. Look at North Carolina A&T, look at Hampton, look at Howard, look at Morehouse, look at Spelman. Just look at them schools alone and look at the people they produced.
Half the university produced me.
That's right. But you understand? You understand? You see, so we have to make our institutions okay, right? We have to do that. You know, I'm so happy, man, you know, not to get too far off, but I'm so happy when I'm looking at the things that Deion Sanders is doing down at Jackson State. And I'm hoping he doesn't make it a powerhouse and then leave, right? Make it a powerhouse and go take over Howard or go take over Hampton, one of the biggest schools with more money with a higher academic standard, right? Or turn Jackson State into one of those better known academic institutions, right? Because once you start getting the revenues, because trust me, if he builds football, some other pro gonna want to come take over their basketball program. And if you know, that's where the money at basketball, because the NCAA makes what $1.3 billion a year. They give 800 million of it back, spread out to the NCAA, and they keep 500 million in profit every year because they own all the rights for basketball. Football don't own the rights, right? And then you got a roster of how many people on a football team, right? So at the end of the day, man, what we are seeing, we need to take that as not a sign for them, but a sign for us. We've got to get into more entrepreneurship. We've got to get back into the trades. We've got to go back to these small, around the way little businesses. You know, you take a city like Ecorse. So somebody goes to E-course, they make a HVAC, plumbing, and electrical company. You can do well right there. Just off the basics. Why? Because now you call a Lincoln Park, Allen Park, Melvindale for some company to come over there to fix your toilet or to fix your electrical work or to fix this, right? Imagine if we train some little guys right there. You got all them people, man, in E-course, man, that you could service right there. We have to create these economies, right? And notice too, you know, them white boys yesterday, that was another thing they were so bent out of shape about. See, the economy is good on Wall Street, but it's terrible on Main Street. And them white boys ain't educating themselves. The other part to that was deep. You see how many of them dudes they found out were city officials or government, not government officials, but city government officials? Yeah. Because remember this, they said during the civil rights movement, that when they were in the South, more than half of the cops were active Klan members. It was no coincidence that them cops was taking selfies with them dudes. And then when they send the National Guard in, they standing up there and they told them, don't take any weapons. Don't show any resistance. Whereas a sister gets her damn eye shot out with a rubber bullet because the fool that was playing the president wanted to cross the street and hold his Bible upside down and take a picture. But you see how they did them? They came out at them like, okay, nigga, come on over here. And here she's standing back and the dude, pow, shoots in the eye.
That's America.
No.
That is America. And back to what you were saying, to piggyback on the entrepreneurial spirit, I noticed one thing about like the school system. They teach you to be an employee. Even the whole structure, go to school for 8 hours, you got a certain month for lunch. You know what I'm saying? It's built into you to just keep going on to be into the work service. And a lot of entrepreneurship is not even celebrated. And I know one thing, a couple years ago, I used to do career days. And the last school my daughter was at, she was upset that there was no entrepreneurs at her career day. It was all people, which is nothing wrong with having a job. That's a good thing.
Right.
It ain't for everybody.
Right.
It's buyers and the sellers. That's the world. But most school is programming you to be a worker. It's not, and then if you don't have no mentors or anybody that's in the business world that's giving you this game of information, you won't even know where to start to jump off to run your own business. Like you said, I seen old pictures. Mr. Worthy showed me old pictures of E-course when E-course had hotels and restaurants and everything. I got to physically see it. And you know, when I grew up, it was a little bit left. You know, Lady Dies, the strip club, you know, whatever, Billy's Party Store, but it was nothing like what I saw in those pictures. And if you don't see that, you'll never see it. You know what I mean? You got to visualize it. And I think the kids are being taught, even myself, if I wasn't around the people I was around, I never would have went into business. I would have went to school and got a job. You know what I mean? That's just, I think we need to do more with, like you said, Saturday school or more just representation of just showing people or giving them the opportunity to see it. Because like you said, it's not for everybody, but if you know it or you can see information on it, then you might can lean towards that and building that up in your community to circulate the dollars, because the dollars stay in our community one time, then it's out.
You know, 11 times in the Asian community, you know, the Jewish community. See, black people, if the masses of black people are Christians, and I was thinking about writing a piece on this, but I think black people need to handle Christianity the same way Jewish people handles Judaism, because those are European Ashkenazis. Those are not the people of Judea. Those are not the children of Israel. Those are people that moved from somewhere else and came there because they thought they had a right to it, because they adopted the religion, i.e. ISH, meaning like the Jew. The original Jew, them Ethiopians, people in parts of Kenya, Somalia, and now we even know that there's Nigerians. You can look it up. It's on 60 Minutes. This Nigerian was telling this Jewish white man that you are not the original Jew. He said, yeah, we're born, basically what we know as sickle cell. We're born and we have this cell and that we have this, you know, and they keep trying to talk about Jewish people like they are a race, quote unquote, which is not real, but like they were a race, right? So this Nigerian takes him there and he said, so tell me about the symbol and how old it is. He said, okay, watch this. He said, follow me. This Nigerian took this Jewish man to a grave site, and the very symbol that this Ashkenazi European Jew tried to say only they have, this man showed him 100 years older in a graveyard in Nigeria, right? So everything that they tried to say that they were originators of, he was like, it's not true, right? But then you find out now the same thing that they thought only Jewish people had, Nigerians and Ethiopians and other people have. Because remember, Nigerians used to be up where Ethiopia is. They moved down to where they are now. That's not originally where they are, because now we know from research and DNA and all this stuff that Nigerians at some point were part of the Egyptian dynasty, but they later moved down, right? And we know that too, because the people who we call the Twa, the people in South Africa, the oldest people, right? Them people migrated down there, right? So just saying all that to say, so imagine a Jewish child is around his own culture, and he's reminded of being Jewish all the time in his culture, in his education, in his business. All of that is a part of his experience. Black people don't make that that experience in Christianity. On Sunday, we want to quote a scripture. I mean, like during the weekend, the Lord said, blah, 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 blah. But you're not building any businesses in the name of being a Christian. You're not educating your children in a school built by your church about who they are in that Bible, right? You're doing nothing related to your Bible to enhance the experience of your children in their daily life. You tell them something on Sunday and tell them you're supposed to walk like this in your life in Christ. No, you need to make that practical. You need to show him, if Christ did this, these are the laws you live by. This is how you do business. This is how you conduct yourself. And in the school you go to, see, we don't do that. We institutionalize the religion, right? We put our money in these buildings. We only use them on Sunday. We'll have choir rehearsal, Bible study, and then we go on our way. If with all the money that we have, if we treated Christianity like they treat Judaism, we would start a Christian bank. We would start a Christian school. We would start a Christian dealership. We would start a Christian restaurant. You understand? Because that's all the stuff that Jewish people do. Everything in their culture builds them as a people, right? But what do? We go to church on Sunday, give a little $20, and we walk the heck up out of there and praise the Lord, and God is good, and God is good all the time. Man, what the hell is that? Ain't nothing gonna change from you saying that. Do some real work. So again, man, I think there's things that we need to do because their empire is crumbling. And that was what we got a chance to see yesterday. They don't like each other. They got nothing to do with us. But what happened is we saw one of the greatest political stances since Fannie Lou Hamer, Dorothy Day, and all of the women in that era, right? When they were teaching people how to vote and educate them, Septima Clark, all these great black women, because black women have always been the movers and the real shakers of the political movement. That was really how the civil rights movement started, with black women. It wasn't black men. They went and got Martin and brought him in the game. And we just saw Stacey Abrams do the same thing. See, the game has changed now because Stacey Abrams got 40% more of young people to vote, 18 to 22. Stacey Abrams got 800,000 more black people to vote. That's a lot of votes, bro. So yesterday, again, what we saw is our rise and their fall. We have to see it for what it is, right? Because their demise is with each other. I was sitting back like that, ain't got nothing to do with us. I can compare it to our experience, but that's them. They're having an issue, not us.
Definitely. It's definitely their issue. It just was just interesting to watch, and I just definitely wanted to get up with you and touch on it because a lot of people was hitting me up like, hey, what's your thought on it? So I was like, you know what, let me call Cuz up and let's chop it up and talk about it, man. So that's I appreciate you taking time out your day, kicking it with me and my people, man. Shouts out to everybody that's on the live in the comments. We appreciate y'all. And I'll be back next week. I'm still doing a podcast with the doctors that took the vaccine. We're gonna go over that. And appreciate everybody that took time out to listen. If you see this on YouTube, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. And if you're on Facebook, like it, share it. Let's get more people involved. And if you don't have the Real Ish Radio app, you can download it for free at realishradiooapp.com. And we're also, the podcast will be uploaded by tomorrow on every streaming platform. And we appreciate everybody.
Blessings.